Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, we are continuing the 1 to 2 experimentation, as well as single tube paintings. And here we have green Apatite, yeah, Genuine, from Daniel Smith. I think I had picked up this tube a few years ago. I don't think I had used it. In fact, it's not, oh, okay. It was dry on the end, and then a big glob came out. So, might have to do a few paintings with it. And here we have a about 7.5 by 15 sheet of Stonehenge, the Legion paper, 90 pound, and it is the natural tone. Okay, so taking the Hake brush, we're going to go into it. We're going to create the scene as we go along, and we're going to experiment with this ratio of 1 to 2. All right, grabbed some paper, towel. Okay, so this is quite green, almost like a fluorescent sap green. Oh, this is a really pretty color. A lot of these colors that just don't feel like monochromatic paintings, or something that I wouldn't kind of just go towards. Usually the browns and the blacks are what I would go with. It feels like I want to do more of a vignette with those. Meaning, I'm reluctant to put anything in the sky. But for the sake of experimentation and just to see what an overall feel would be like, I'm gonna kind of have to do that. I think that the future series of experimentation would have to be just looking at and exploring the vignettes. So let me know what you think down below. Should the sky have gone in, or should it have been left out? With the skies, I put them in wet and wet, but then I take the towel and I like to lift it back with texture and exploring the different tones. With this, it most likely comes from Stuart Davies with his oil painting. When I've seen people put in the sky and wipe the oils around in the sky, kind of thinning it out initially, and just toning the sky. Okay, there's something interesting taking place. As I'm lifting up, we can see some darker aspects coming through. So a little bit of granulation happening, and a little bit of like a brown happening in those spots. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. Let me see. It might show up a little bit. Got it there, and then look at the wood. So we'll create this sky and kind of a horizon. I'm gonna have to get a container to put some of this in that just kind of spilled out. All right, I'm gonna get it darker as we go higher up. The idea being that as we move up in the sky, the clouds are going to get bigger and come towards us. We're going to be viewing closer clouds. There is a tendency for me just to gradiate upwards and go up a thickness, but having this diagonal slant adds a bit of dynamic movement to it and helps prevent it from just being horizontal. Now, I gotta say, if you want to follow along, you're always welcome to, and you're always welcome to sign your own name. And you have my express permission to sell anything you do whenever you follow along. I want you guys to have fun and have money for art supplies. Here I see some of that separating out as well. That's very cool. I wonder what it's going to look like dried. Anyway, so if you would like to support this channel, I have the Patreon link down below, and I have the Etsy where I have items for sale. And the Etsy has exclusive content, and thank you everybody that supports the channel through that. And those of you that send the super thanks, thank you as well. And liking and subscribing really helps out. So this reminds me of some of the colored fountain pen inks, where the colored fountain pen inks are used with 2 different dyes, I think, or 3 different. They're mixing things up. And the different inks in the mix, the different pigments will have different kind of properties, where there might be a waterproof permanence to one of them, while one of the colors might wash out. In fact, I gave my friend Ryan a bottle of, I think it was called Rome Burning by Noodlers, and it was it brown? And then whenever you hit it with water, it washed out the yellow and left the purple. And then you'd have yellow marks like this kind of fluorescent green is around that other movement. So it's almost like there's just a lot going on in this tube. We have this super dark, I'm curious how that's going to come out dried. We have the fluorescent, just beautiful parts. Honestly, I don't want to accidentally just coat all that fluorescent and green. I'm anticipating some splotchiness with the darker applications, but it's really, really fun. We've only used the paper towel and the hake so far. It really feels like you probably get away with this without having to use scraping tools and the #1 rigger, but we are going to wind up utilizing them just to see what happens. Let's build up this background. Let's get a little scraping in, and we can play with the card. So we got the #1 rigger and the card. Let's see how it moves around and what we can create with that, and we'll scrape at the same time in a moment. Let's see. Get a lot of growth happening. Just kind of flicking around. We could add to this background just very gently. You can see I'm moving around quite a bit. Let's see how it scrapes. In the last two videos, I've used this wider scrape, this nice wide edge. It's less likely to backfill. It is good for rocks and tree trunks. So moving out here. I could take some of this darker that pooled right below it, and if I want to drag it up into some grass forms. It has a very kind of Lord of the Rings, hobbity type feel, this color. So maybe we can kind of compare that to maybe the kind of greens of New Zealand. I'm curious. I think that's where they filmed them, so. Adds characters to the landscape. If you'll notice, you see that I like to pull horizontally across water or paths. Kind of a wider edge pull out of trees. Very lush, wet type color. It's raining out here in Louisiana. It is winter, but whenever the grass is right and the green is right for the trees, whenever it gets wet like this, it looks really nice. I think that's why. So there's kind of a wetness. Using the hake. Been playing with this technique on the tree trunks lately. Just kind of going in and stippling. See if we could pull this forward from that background clouds and create foliage. Rotate your hake around or whatever you're using for texture to prevent a repetition. And if you want, you take the paper towel and fix up the texture there. You could also wait till we dry off and create another layer on top. One thing I was quite fond of years ago was putting in the foliage wet and wet, and then doing a dry off and creating more foliage on top of it and creating a sense of depth there. Okay. I've been creating tree groups on this left side lately, so I probably should create some on the other side. But I've been enjoying this composition. I feel like then we want this to be dark right there. It might be good to do a sap green, single tube painting to compare this to, but I mainly use sap green in tandem with Venetian red, kind of the red ochre sap green combination, and it usually has quite a value shift. It dries pretty soft. So I know that's one of the probably negatives of the sap green. So I'm curious what we see here. You can make trees with just ivy all in them. I guess this is the way to paint green if you have just so much green happening. It's quite something. What if you can hear the rain in the video? I don't really edit my videos beyond putting them on YouTube and just kind of putting them a little bit cropped and things like that. Mainly because I just can't listen to my own voice. Let's create a group of trees here. I don't want to completely cover that background area. But we're changing the feel here. This is kind of a dramatic change, but I think it's worth doing. The browns that I told you about kind of sitting in the background, they really recede nice. They have a kind of purplish hue to them. Is that how I want to do these guys? There we go. So the sky area is still wet. You can see it diffusing and softening into it. Now, if I put a painting up on Etsy, or I had my art show, I'll title them for that. But I don't usually title paintings. That being said, the word like wet or after rain or that vibe just really comes forward with this this color. So I probably will wind up titling it something like that. It's just life and growth in it. A little bit of growth taking place. The rain's lashing now. You see a little bit through that to see that background there. I could scrape a little bit here. I'm using the pointed end, so this is going to backfill and create thin, darker lines. Usually, I avoid this at that distance because the paint around it usually softens so much, and making the dark that just doesn't really seem to sit appropriately with the rest of it. But I'm feeling fairly confident that this is going to not have too much of a shift. There, it's not backfilling. It probably will in a moment though. Go. A bit dense right there. Okay, I think it's time for a dry off, so let's see what happens. I'm gonna pause the camera. I'm gonna hit it with the blow dryer. It looks so lush through the camera. All right, so it's fairly dry. We did lose a little bit of the lushness to it. The water coming out of it will change the way things feel. I want to hit it with some dry brush, but while I was drying it off, I really thought about how that little change took place and how we could probably hit it with a varnish, maybe like a spray varnish, a gloss, to bring that glow back. That will be an experiment down the line. I know Joe Menza is quite fond of varnishing them. I haven't really done much of that, except for the oyster paintings that I've done. And sometimes under glass, just gives it that look anyway. So that being said, the scrapes that I had done, that backfilled, did work pretty perfectly. They really do work well with it. I'm just adding a little bit more texture, using the number 1 rigger on its side to kind of catch some tooth of the paper. Of course, we can use the hake. And with limited tools, you can really do a lot. Let's create an area of growth right there. Ooh, that's straight from the tube. Sounded like a tree branch fell across the street. We have so many tall oak trees in Louisiana, and the cypress and pine and magnolia trees, and a lot of trees here. One hurricane, we watched the wind snapped the cypress tree across the street in half. I'll bring some growth here. That has just such a nice vibe to it. Last dry off, and I'll sign it and we'll take a look. All right, we're at 22 minutes in. The range, just the value range of this pigment is amazing. I really don't use green tubes that often, but if I did, I would use this over a sap green if I was to do another monochromatic painting. I signed it right in here. When I said that about how I'd use this over sap green, just feel like I need to add the disclaimer of I'm not sponsored or anything by Daniel Smith. I don't think I'm their target audience or target consumer, since I'm painting in this fashion. But that being said, I really love this tube. All right, I'll be back with more. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, please like, subscribe, follow, and if you paint along, let me know how you're doing. Tag me on social media. I have a whole bunch down below. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.